The Collaborative Leadership Initiative process involves three main steps. The foundational step, the one that most people sort of intuitively want to skip over because it can be sometimes a bit uncomfortable, is about relationship building. It's the foundation for reconciliation. It's about truth-telling, it's about getting to know people, relationships, and it takes time. And that's what we're here doing with the Mackenzie River Basin Board. And it's the first time in Canadian history that you have a water management organization that involved Indigenous people from the very beginning.
And it's a very complicated area. Alberta, Saskatchewan, Yukon, Northwest Territories, British Columbia, about at least a third of the landmass of Canada, sitting around that table making political decisions.
The Mackenzie River Basin Board is really tasked with protecting water in this basin, and they have some key objectives as outlined in the agreement, such as ensuring that water is safe for today and tomorrow, looking into the future, making sure that they all have autonomy in their jurisdictions, but doing no harm in other jurisdictions, making sure that they're looking at water, land, air, all of the things that really impact the ecosystem.
When you get into an environment like this, I think everybody relaxes and realizes, especially when you're out in nature like this, how you can be more clear in your thinking, more relaxed, you can concentrate more on issues, and you can share each other's experiences. And you get an opportunity to learn about the different processes in different areas of the jurisdictions and how those processes work. And here we're out at a camp that's on the land, and we're hearing of the history of this area, and we're hearing the history from the Indigenous side. I think what happens in this type of forum when you're on the land, you get a greater appreciation for the knowledge that the Indigenous people have.
My name is Leon Andrew. I live in Northern Wells, Northwest Territory, but I was born and raised in Toledo. And I'm a mountain Dene, Shutagutina. And my role is to play a part from the Dene perspective and what they think of the water, issues that relate to their way of life.
This morning here, we gather here just to feed the fire. And we're going to pass that tobacco around. When we're passing that tobacco around, everybody take a little bit, and then they give thanks to the Creator, give thanks to ancestors, and then they put it together with everybody else. We'll all do things together as much as possible, and all make sure that everybody is together as a community. So,
for this meeting, the board gave us the scope of braided governance. And what we've discovered together over the course of these 2 days is the importance of words and the importance of using the word braiding governance, because it's an active endeavor that is not something that is one and done. It's a constant process that each person around the table has to be committed to in order to have a productive working relationship and a respectful working relationship with one another, and to accomplish the goals as outlined in the master agreement.
As we've also heard from the elders on the Mackenzie River Basin Board, they value that scientific knowledge. It helps them to also make decisions as well, and they like to have that complemented with traditional knowledge and Indigenous knowledge.
Everyone's got a different idea of what governance is, to a large extent, dictated by the circumstance that you're in and what you're trying to do. Braided governance to me is a word that someone came up with to try to explain how we might meld a number of different methods of governance into one working sort of approach. The biggest single value that will come of it will be for each board member to get the opportunity to come and stand on the ground that we represent, and to be able to help our non-Indigenous colleagues to understand the connection between Indigenous people and the lands that they originate from.
Well, the CLI process brings together those two perspectives, the Indigenous perspective and I guess you could say the Western perspective.
I think that the process that's being worked on, the learning that CLI has been doing over the past couple of years translates far beyond certainly Canada, far beyond water negotiations, and actually can permeate into a lot of water governance itself in a lot of different contexts. I've been involved with a lot of similar types of treaties and agreements in the United States, and I see a lot of them being formalized but not actually being implemented. And it seems that it's the lack of relationships and that it is the lack of trust between the actual participants that is really the limiting factor. So things can exist on paper but not actually be implemented. And so it's been really great to see the very slow, gradual, trust-building type of process that CLI is working with that actually puts meat on the bones of these actual agreements.
It's a lot of work, and it takes a long-term commitment to say we're going to go and learn, and we're going to do our work with and incorporate those learnings.
It's always incredible, just the importance of trust between the people around the table that are making these decisions together. And it's pretty amazing to see what happens when that important process is given the time that it needs to foster those important relationships and the impact that can have down the line on the outcome.
Half of the population is Indigenous in the Northwest Territories. By necessity, they live together, they work together. They have figured out, probably more than any other place in Canada, how do we both be who we are in our cultures and our languages, and yet work together, respecting each other's jurisdiction.
In my time in government, we worked very hard on the advancement of the whole concept of collaboration. We figured out how to write laws with the Indigenous governments. It was all part of the underlying move to the recognition that no one government can go it alone up here or anywhere. But if we wanted to do things as a territorial government, we had to do it in collaboration and cooperation with the Indigenous governments.
I think when we see the board here and understanding these processes, I think the more open they get to the idea that, wow, this information is actually consistent with other information that's out there from a different angle, but it needs to be included.
The key ingredient for doing this type of work is care. If you care, everything else comes from that. Care gives you hope, care gives you commitment, care gives you all of the elements required to be able to do your job and to represent your communities.
As a group gathering, I really appreciate that. I think it's a good thing that two group of people with the same mindset to watch over the water or try to monitor the water, see where it's going. I think those discussions as a group, I really enjoyed them. You know, we need the other group to make those kind of issues clear, loud and clear for the public to know. We've got to be on the same page.
It's like that song we just sung, it's called the Journey Song. Yeah, and day, you think about tomorrow, the next day, next year, 10 years, 100 years. You always think about future, where you're going to be, where you're going to go.
I am absolutely convinced something good will come of this. I'm a believer that if humankind puts its mind to something, it can do pretty much anything. And I think the group we have here is fully capable of doing the work that needs to happen, and I look forward to being involved in it.